Okay, so let's get right into it. A massive merger just happened that's sending shockwaves through the entire real estate world. It's created a new industry giant, and it's got a lot of people worried about the market shrinking. But what if, and this is a big what if, the conventional wisdom is just flat out wrong? Today, we're going to dig into one expert's very different take on why smart local ecosystems might actually beat these giant empires in the long run. And really, it all boils down to this one huge question that's on everybody's mind. With these mega companies forming, is the local real estate agent, the person you actually know and trust in your town, about to go extinct? To really understand what's going on, we have to look at the event that kicked this whole debate into high gear. I'm talking about a merger that was basically a real estate earthquake, and it caught almost everyone off guard. So here's what happened. On January 9th, 2026, boom, the Compass Anywhere deal closed. The speed of it was just stunning. And just like that, a new behemoth was created in the industry, and it instantly reignited all these simmering debates about what the future of real estate is going to look like. Right away, this deal raised a huge red flag for a lot of people. They started asking, wait a minute, can they even do that? Is a company this big even legal? So let's tackle that first big fear, the monopoly myth. I mean, it's the natural question to ask, right? Is this new giant just too big? When one company gets that much power, doesn't it just kill competition and end up hurting you, the consumer? And look, it's a totally fair concern, but it might be based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how the real estate business actually works. Here's a great way to think about it. Compare it to the banking world. When two big banks merge, regulators can step in and say, hey, you've got to sell off these branches to make sure there's still competition. Pretty simple. But in real estate, it's a completely different ballgame. The most valuable assets aren't buildings, they're the agents. And you can't force people to work somewhere. And this is really the heart of the matter. As industry leader Hobie Hanna puts it, you can't force someone to work for Company B instead of Company A. It's that simple. If an agent is unhappy with a new mega company, the culture, the commission split, you name it, they can just walk across the street to a competitor. That freedom for agents to vote with their feet is the ultimate protection for you, the consumer. So, if it's not an illegal monopoly, then what about that other big fear? The idea that the whole industry is just going to boil down to a handful of giant companies. Well, that brings us to the second big myth we need to bust. See, before you can even talk about consolidation, you have to understand what it is you're trying to consolidate. The real estate world isn't just one thing. It's this whole wild mix of different business models. You've got your traditional commission-based companies, you've got 100% commission shops, low-fee franchises, tiny independents. They all run on completely different financial and cultural playbooks. And this is why Hobie Hanna asks such a simple but brilliant question. Whenever he hears someone predict that there will only be 3 or 4 brokerages left, he just asks, 3 or 4 of what? That one line completely exposes the problem with the argument. This isn't like consolidating soda companies. These different brokerage models are like apples and oranges. Which ones are supposed to merge together? And here's the reality check. The data just doesn't support this idea of a huge consolidation wave. If you actually look at who's been actively buying up companies across the country, the list has been really, really short lately. The feeding frenzy everyone predicted, it just hasn't happened. So if the future isn't some big battle between a few lumbering giants, then what is it? What's the new playbook for a brokerage that doesn't just want to survive, but wants to actually win in this environment? Well, the answer seems to be this concept, the home services platform. The idea is that the future isn't just about the one-time sale of a house. It's about building an entire ecosystem of services around that transaction. We're talking mortgage, title, insurance, the whole shebang. This kind of platform makes an agent's life way easier, and it keeps you, the customer, engaged with that brand long after the deal is done. And according to Hannah, this all leads to a very clear 3-step survival guide. First, be obsessed with getting listings. That's the lifeblood of the business. Second, you have to master your data to help your agents be smarter and more efficient. And third, and this is the big one, you have to own the ecosystem. If you don't control those other services, you're just renting space in somebody else's business model. So what this really points to is a completely different philosophy of how to grow. It's not about building a massive empire just for the sake of being big. It's about cultivating a strong, sustainable ecosystem. It's a much more disciplined way to think about growth. And you can really see the two competing ideas side by side here. On one hand, you have a self-funded approach where when they buy a company, the local leaders become true partners. They get a real stake in the future, so they want to stick around. On the other hand, you have the aggressive, debt-fueled model. They buy a company, and then it's a top-down integration. And what often happens? The best agents and local leaders get alienated, and all that local market knowledge they just paid for walks right out the door. So the goal isn't just growth for growth's sake. It's about building something sustainable, a platform where the strong local players have a real stake in the outcome. It's a partnership, not a takeover. And this all leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question that really affects all of us. As this industry keeps changing, the choice you make is going to change too. So in the future, when you go to buy or sell, are you going to be choosing just an agent, or will you be choosing an entire home ecosystem to help you manage your single largest asset? Something to think about.